Aloha, everyone. Or I should probably say mahalo. That's probably better for how I'm feeling at the moment, because this has been, it's rare. Ron just went through the litany of stuff that our team is responsible for, and it's 1,000,000 miles wide and it's 1,000,000 miles deep. And when you're trying to deal with all of it simultaneously, what you end up doing is about 20 minutes on everything every day, or 20 minutes on everything once a week. So it's rare to be able to be in a spot and listen to a conversation about an issue unfold in a very deep and connected way. And it's exciting, because this was prior to this job, that was my life. I would get down into the guts of a problem and I would root around and try to find solutions. And that was, so it feels, it's somewhat home to me to be back in a conversation like this. And I'm hitting that because one of the weird things and funny things about this job is that you end up in situations where you look around the room and you're about the 40th person who should be talking about any of these things, because this is not a place that I've spent a bunch of time. I've done a bunch on climate change. I've done a bunch on buildings and the intersection of those and buildings and public health. But dealing with the retention of culture in such an existential way is far afield for me. And I feel privileged to have been able to listen to true experts and people who are deeply, deeply connected to the preservation of the places that you are from and the places that you are. And it's been just wonderful to be able to be a part of that. So mahalo for all of that. I want to, before we get too deep into this, and I'm not going to be very long, I want to point out a couple of people. Where's Aubrey? Aubrey's right here, right? Kelly, where's Kelly? Kelly, right, this Aubrey, right? Morgan's right here, right? And then Kate Plimpton, who has been around. So this is the team that pulled this day together. All of the lead up to it, the execution today. If you have a chance at the happy hour later to buy them a beer, they certainly deserve it. So I would like to give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. The idea of doing this from DC, pulling it all together with it's very impressive. So way to go, thank you. And I hope everybody was able to get the chance to thank you over the course of the time. I was sort of reflecting on the course of the day and the way that Senator Kuba kicked us off about just her journey through sort of figuring out what it means to be engaged in the type of activity that's going to be necessary for the people that she serves. And I feel I feel very similar about the work that we get to do. We are in service to the nation. We're in service to the people who are in uniform. We're in service to the civilians and the communities that our installations are interdependent on. And I think that she did a really excellent job of sort of just level setting that this is about all those things coming together, and you don't get to just focus on any one thing. You have to connect it all together. And I think that was really a great way to start. So getting whoever's idea that was to get her here to kick us off, way to go. There are a bunch of DoD people, federal, state, and local people here. I hope that this was an opportunity for you to listen and to hear and to learn, to bring back to your work the solutions that are going to be necessary to drive this all forward, particularly as it relates to what the Secretary describes as not just the Secretary, but our national security posture describes as the most important area of responsibility in the entire DoD landscape, the Indo-Pacific, and I think that's hopefully something that we can build on and move forward around. It's also an opportunity for unique partnerships. And we heard a lot about those sort of opportunities to convene, opportunities to support, to bring participants together to show how we can learn from each other and drive collective action. I think that the last couple of points about a workforce that is sustained by volunteerism is not a workforce that's going to be sustainable in the long run. I think that's the type of thing where we need to get the wisdom of the people here to open up the successful pathways that have been used, maybe not directly related to these existential challenges, but in other challenges that have been faced, to pull that all together. Because that is, where we can unite and pull together communities for collective action and for moving the ball forward. Because nobody's on the sideline for this conversation, right? Nobody's on the sideline for climate mitigation and climate adaptation. What I think is unique about this conversation is that nobody's more closely, directly and existentially threatened than the places that we've been talking about today. And whoever earlier today talked about the death of a culture really got my attention, because that's a piece of this that the technical side of my brain, I'm an engineer, right? So the culture piece of this is something that tends to be viewed through the lens of, if we can just fix the sea level rise, all the rest of this stuff falls into place. And that's obviously bullshit, right? But the point of being able to be in a room and sharing that type of language, giving people the ability to go back and reflect on that and then move it into their lived experience is exactly what I was hoping to get out of that. So I am bringing that back to DC and to the Pentagon and into conversations that we're going to have about why we are supporting these things, because we are in a position to be able to move the ball across a lot of these things, right? So it's going to be government, it's going to be businesses, it's going to be NGOs and citizens, and all these people are coming together. So while we have focused on coastal inundation and climate threats and crisis multipliers, I think that it's also important to bring this back for the DoD people and maybe encourage you, if not just, if I'm allowed to give you permission to do this, then consider it that way, to use this as a connection back to mission, right? We heard from Suber in the morning that we talk about climate change in the Pentagon and in the broader DoD as a risk to mission. And we do that deliberately, right? Part of it is because DoD looks like America. America is not united in their view on the importance of dealing with climate change by any stretch of the imagination. But all of it is something that we can find a door to walk somebody through to say, this is the piece of the puzzle that is challenging, and this is the piece of the puzzle that you have the opportunity to work on. And the fact of the matter is, all the building efficiency stuff, all the resilience stuff that we're doing to address climate change is exactly the same stuff that we would be doing to address all the other existential mission threats that we are dealing with today anyway. So I would encourage you, if I'm allowed to give you permission to do this, take it back. Use this as something that layers into the mission risk, and talk to your people about that, and see if there's ways that you can explain to people that when we are in peer competition for relationships in the Indo-Pacific with sovereign nations, this is an element that distinguishes us from other people that can be knocking on the door to partner with. And through those relationships that we are building through these events, it changes the dynamic and gives us another layer to put into our discussions about what the United States posture looks like in the Indo-Pacific. So, as I said, I'm not the right person to necessarily be closing this out, but the people that we did pull together here really did create something that is going to be useful going forward. So it's not news to anybody in this room that the cultural heritage and historic preservation has not been a central organizing theme of climate change response. I think events like this give us the opportunity to reframe and engage in conversations that will add this to the list of things that we need to be working through, and then allowing the voice that exists here to inform decision makers further up is something that we can commit to as a result of the conversations today. So y'all didn't just sit around and admire the problem today. You did talk about actionable solutions. I think that is a huge challenge, and we're starting that conversation. But please keep it up, because the way that we can catalyze, the way that we can organize resources is informed by stories that are going to be coming out of these things. And I think that in terms of the way that this room embodied a sense of optimism was really very inspiring to me. And that's another thing that I feel very privileged to be able to bring back to that work, because I don't know how much time you spend in climate change science folks' rooms. Optimism is getting rarer and rarer in a lot of these places, but your ability to be engaged that way, be optimistic, and commit to action, again, is something that we can model and talk about and grow as a result. And hopefully you can get some of the curmudgeons who are out there basically cashing in chips on all the stuff that we have in front of us, bent back together and centered on something that is more than about the science, centered on the culture and the history and the heritage that we are losing as a result of our inaction and our inability to move the ball forward on a lot of these things. So the conversations and partnerships and projects that started today, I think are important. I'm going to do a little quick audience poll. If you didn't connect with someone that you didn't know before today, please raise your hand. Nice. Well done, everybody. If you are that person, that one lone person who's not comfortable raising your hand and admitting to something like that, I encourage you to find somebody and make a relationship, because those are the types of things that sustain the community that's in this room, even though, I don't know, who was grilling everybody about the definition? Was it you grilling everybody about the definition of community? Yeah, hard question. So I'm going to turn the mic off and not take any questions after this as a result of that. So a lot of you are here for PICARD tomorrow, the Pacific Island Climate Adaptation Research and Development Symposium. That is sponsored by, I'm going to point to Mr. Paul Farnan in the back there. He's the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for, they do put installations first, installations, energy, and environment. And Paul's going to be a real strong partner in that effort, so way to go, Army, on that. And I think this is another opportunity, PICARD's another opportunity to continue this conversation and really build on some of the things that have happened over the course of today. So with that, I want to say again, mahalo to everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here and engage in a conversation that like I said, truly inspired me. And I know it inspired a bunch of our team. So thanks very much. Again, I will end there, and hopefully everybody can get together at the happy hour and make those connections and make them stronger over a beer or two. Thanks, everybody.